everybody. Welcome to the 21st episode of YLC Chats. Today we have a really special guest, Erin Rosenfeld from Northbrook, Illinois. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Ryan, do you want to ask the first couple of questions?
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Erin Rosenfeld, and I am currently a second-year student or sophomore at Northeastern University in Boston, where I'm studying American Sign Language, psychology, and theater. I'm hard of hearing and wear hearing aids in both of my ears. And I'm really passionate about accessibility rights and particularly pertaining to the deaf community.
What does being an advocate mean to you?
Being an advocate means fighting for my rights and for awareness, as well as the rights of those around me. It means pushing for accessibility and for a better world. I want to see real solid change, and I'm willing to put in the work to make that happen. Even though it's tiring sometimes, I'm willing to do it.
And my next question for you is, what inspired you to be an advocate for all those causes you just talked about?
So I've personally battled inaccessibility and autism my whole life, and autism is discrimination against deaf people. And so I've had a lot of really difficult experiences with being denied accessibility in schools, even though accommodations are literally legally required by law, as well as issues with accessibility in everyday public places like airports and movie theaters and places like that. I've also noticed that sometimes people themselves don't really know what to do when meeting a deaf or a hard of hearing person for the first time. They don't know how to try to communicate with us, or even how to treat us, or what things are offensive or inappropriate to say. And so seeing some of these experiences of other deaf and hard of hearing people around me, as well as my own experiences, have really made it clear to me that I don't want anyone else to have to go through inaccessibility and this type of oppression. I want younger deaf kids, younger hard of hearing kids to be able to grow up in a more aware, accepting, and accessible world.
My next question is, how have you used social media to advocate for change?
So during the pandemic, I downloaded TikTok and didn't really think much of it at first. And then I started making videos centering around being a hard of hearing person. I use sign language in them. I discuss accessibility and my experiences. And I really try to spread awareness and promote change in a positive way. And like Ryan mentioned earlier, during the recent presidential election, I posted a TikTok about the inaccessibility because there were no ASL interpreters, and live captions just don't cut it because they're delayed and there's often errors, and a lot of deaf people may not have access to written English because it's a second language for them. And not having interpreters at the debates cut out a huge percentage of voters. And so this got a lot of traction and a lot of attention, and people were commenting saying that they'd never even thought about this before. And so I really want to get people thinking by using this social media platform. And I want to make sure that these things show up on their radar and now are at the forefront of their mind when they may not have thought of it before. And then once they're aware of it, they can help advocate for accessibility with us.
How has COVID impacted the deaf and hard of hearing community?
Yeah, so COVID has, of course, affected everyone in so many ways, but the deaf community has definitely had additional impacts. Although not every deaf or hard of hearing person relies on lip reading or can lip read, a fair amount of us, including me, really heavily rely on it. And masks make spoken communication extremely difficult because it prohibits lip reading, and also it muffles the sound of people's voices for those of us who do have some hearing. And I've noticed throughout my own experiences during the pandemic that unfortunately a lot of hearing people are not willing or are resistant to communicate with us through gesturing or writing back and forth. And it's just very difficult, and it's made our limited access to spoken language even more inaccessible. Also, before the pandemic, there would be lots of deaf events or deaf gatherings where people from the community would join together and get to communicate with people that share their identity and have that accessible communication. And of course, with the pandemic, that can happen. So that's something that can be really, really isolating for a lot of people.
So what are some changes you would like to see in our country in terms of inclusion and equity for deaf and hard of hearing people?
That's such a good question. There's honestly a lot of changes I would like to see in our country. And I think that there should always be a sign language interpreter on the screen for important political events or White House press briefings or important news. And even if it's just someone in the bottom of the screen, like in a bubble, like that is so much better than what is happening right now, which is no sign language interpreters. Additionally, the education system, both from the elementary through high school level, as well as at the college level, needs to be much more accessible for deaf and disabled students. I know that some people have had positive experiences, which is great, but many of us have not had those good experiences. I mean, I personally have had so many teachers and administrators resist or even flat out deny closed captions or other accommodations, and it's protected under the ADA and the IDEA, but there's never really any repercussions if it's not followed. So I really think there needs to be a structural change in the education system, whether it means more disability training for teachers or for the ADA to be enforced more than it is right now.
My last question for you is, what can people watching this video do to help support what you talked about today?
I think hearing people being aware and using the hearing privilege that they have to help us fight and advocate would be so helpful. If you're uploading a video to any social media app, take a few extra minutes to add closed captioning. It'll open it up to a whole new audience. Learn some basic sign language. During the pandemic, invest in a clear mask to help us lip read, and be patient when communicating with us. Be willing to repeat yourself and try gesturing and writing back and forth. Honestly, just support and advocacy would be so helpful and just help spreading awareness.
Those are all really great points. And I will say the main reason that we have captions on our YouTube videos is because I watched your TikToks and realized how important it was to have captions for everybody who may need them, and just how important it was on an accessibility level. So thank you for that, because that probably benefits so many of our other viewers who watch our channel. But yeah, we loved hearing everything you had to say, and we're going to link Erin's social media in the description below so you can follow her and learn more about her. But this has been the 21st episode of YLC Chats, and we'll see everybody next time. Bye, everybody.